just felt to see it. There is always another day. For you there's another round. No day is ever too late. There's always a way out. You got everything that you need. Everything that you need. Oh no, oh no. You've got everything that you need. Everything that you need. Oh
Wow, what a fantastic new stinger to add to our productions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's a new week with new opportunities for Storm Surge and for us here at True North Studios, and we're happy to have you guys along the way. My name is Not Really Evan, going to be your main caster on the desk tonight, joined by Moth Eyes once again. You got a couple of these CS streams down with you, Matthias. How are you feeling going into this one?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's a new experience every single time. Every game is a journey, and I'm delighted to be taking on this journey with you, Evan. But let's get into the game. What's our matchup for today, Evan?
Yeah, it's going to be another good one for Storm Surge. And these two teams, Storm Surge and PROFECO, similar trajectories, similar journeys. Both of these teams coming into this one 4-2 as we head into round number 7 of the ESEA main division. So 4-2 for both of these teams, very similar for either side. Both teams have won 3 in a row. And if you were joining us last Thursday for our game against the Crimson Vortex, you know that Storm Surge came out of that one fairly hot. It was a dominant win against the Crimson Vortex on Nuke, and we're hoping they could tap into some of that tonight as well.
I mean, that's what you're hoping for. They started off the season with a little bit of, a little bit of a toss-up, but I definitely feel that they've gotten their momentum now, and they look to carry it into the future and try and make that playoff spot. So let's go through the lineups here. Let's talk about the rosters. Of course, we got on the side of Storm Surge, Kanzi, Desolation, Cube, Doyle, and Punisher. But let's talk about their opponent, PROFECO. They got quite an interesting lineup here if you want to take us through that, Evan.
Yeah, interesting lineup is the name of the game. We'll run down the list. Obviously, there are some substitutes in this list. We'll have to see what the final roster looks like. We can kind of piece that together. Ichigo, Nivek, V1, Gonak, Quanrobe, Anthony TJC, and AMC rounding out the list for PROFECO. And when you look at this list straight up, obviously your eyes draw to Nivek coming into this one as a top player in NA, one of the, top 1,000, face it, rank 919. So definitely not like the top of the elite face it ranks, but definitely something you want to take note on. Some of the other names you want to keep an eye out for: V1 AMC, based on their last couple games, definitely had the largest amount of fragging potential out of anybody on this PROFECO roster. But despite that being said, this is the kind of team where they're playing hot, they're playing with momentum right now. It almost feels like anybody has the chance to make a big play.
Yeah, it's definitely anybody's game. We've seen them go up against higher ranked players as well and do relatively well into them. I believe I think the first match I came back or the first match I casted with you here, I think they went up, I think it was like ranked 250, top
Yeah,
500
that
for
sounds
sure.
that sounds about right.
And they did pretty well. It was not like a complete blowout. It was not like they were getting carried there. So I think Storm Surge has the team synergy here to overcome a monster on the side like Nivek there. But it's all about, does PROFECO have that unity? Do they have the synergy to map Storm Surge?
Yeah, I think that actually is a good point to bring up, because the way that Storm Surge was able to get their win last week, it wasn't just one person having a crazy game and that led to the team victory. No, it was a collective effort from the team, and it was a dominant win. I want to say it was 13-2, 13-3, something like that. Like, it was just an absolute blowout for the side of Storm Surge, and that was a bit of a surprise for us last week. I think we sort of assumed that they were going to come out on top, but I don't think we knew it was going to be that much of a stomp. So I think if Storm Surge, are hoping to carry some of that momentum, we're really going to have to see them tap into some of that team that we saw last week. And I think that's really going to come down to how they play as a unit, the confidence that they come into, certain engagements, and how they approach site executions, and, just playing together as a unit. And I think really just sort of finding that team synergy is going to be the way to get the victory tonight. But we're going to have to wait and see, because both these teams still trying to stay hot, both trying to stay in a playoff position, as both of them are. Storm Surge is in a playoff spot right now, although just on the fringes. So a win tonight definitely would be very important to keep those hopes alive.
Exactly. It's unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, but The tiebreaker here is going to be the map, Evan. So let's start talking about the maps. What do you think we're going to see? I've only casted Inferno, but what have you seen in the games that you've casted? What are you thinking we're going to see today?
Well, I think this one definitely is going to get a little bit interesting. And obviously, when we talk about maps, we're going to shout out our main sponsor, Counterstrat. Counterstrat providing us with the majority of this map intel. If you want to get started with Counterstrat yourself and give yourself an advantage in your next FACEIT game, please visit them at counterstrat.com. Get signed up and get the intel that you need to get the victory. In terms of vetoes, it definitely doesn't benefit Storm Surge right off the rip because PROFECO's most played map and their best map by far is Dust 2. And you look at Storm Surge, and that is their worst map. So you could say the map they played the least amount of times. So I think that's going to be a very important thing to come through in the bans tonight is that Storm Surge absolutely does not want to see Dust 2 tonight. I would definitely have to swing a lot of the momentum in favor of PROFECO if that was the case, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be a priority ban. If I had to think about it realistically, I would think maybe seeing Ancient again, Mirage, definitely a map liked by both these teams. Maybe Anubis. Both these teams don't have a lot of time on Anubis since it's been brought back, so if we want to see maybe a truly neutral site, Anubis might be the one, or another game on Nuke just because Storm Surge played it so well.
Yeah, I mean, Anubis might be the pick here. You know, you just go in completely blind. Hopefully, it's an uneven playing field, and you can just kind of let the skills shine through rather than the strat. I could definitely see PROFECO wanting to go on Anubis, especially if they're so confident being ranked, you know, top 900 on FACEIT. You know, you just think you can aim your shots, go in, just go in blind. I think that might be the plan today.
It could be, but I guess it just depends on how much of an advantage Storm Surge want to try and get in this match. Because in a game like this where the teams are so even, it might just come down to whoever can just play the map better. And that really is going to be an important thing to keep an eye on. If we get Mirage, we've seen Storm Surge on Mirage before. It didn't go particularly well for them, but I think Mirage is the type of map where any team, you know, at a certain level of Counter-Strike just knows how to play it innately. So it'll be interesting to see what comes through. I'm being told that we're going to get our final predictions in here. Matthias, what are you going to lock in?
I'm going to lock in Dust 2. That's the wild card. I want to see it. I think it'd be interesting. I want them to fell a giant today. That's what I want to see.
Well, I don't think Storm Surge is going to want to see Dust 2 tonight, but it could happen. I think I'm gonna go with Mirage tonight. I think it's a map that both teams are gonna like a decent amount, and will give both teams a decent shot at getting through. I just can't see Dust 2 getting through the bans, but we're not gonna delay any longer. Let's see what the map is gonna be tonight. Dust 2. Oh God! Look at that.
There we go. Into the belly of the beast they go. Straight into the fire and flames. They're gonna beat them where they're best. I think we want to see a showcase from Storm Surge today.
Hey, you know what? If that's the mentality, then I really like what they're thinking. You know, if you're gonna beat the best competition, why not beat them at, you know, their own game? And I mean, if Storm Surge, if they sort of want to, you know, separate themselves from, you know, some of these middling teams, you know, to make sure they secure themselves, you know, a spot later, they're going to have to play maps like Dust 2, even if they're bad on it. So why not give yourself a chance tonight, see what you need to work on at least, and go from there. But obviously, with that being said, Dust 2, a map, you know, loved by PROFECO, do they just play into their hands here?
Do they do that? That's the question on anyone's minds. But, you know, regardless of if they've really drilled Dust 2 or had, you know, professional experience in Dust 2, everybody's played on Dust 2. Everybody knows it. It's in more games than just Counter-Strike at this point. It's been ported over. So I think they're going to be confident going into this. It's going to be some good, clean CS. But let's talk score lines, Evan. What do you think this one's going to end up being?
I think it's not going to be as much of a stomp as it was last time. I think this one is going to be a little closer. I'm thinking either a 13-9 or a 13-8, no matter who wins. I mean, my gut is telling me that, you know, this is PROFECO's best map. I would definitely give them the advantage. However, this is what I said last time, and I was proven wrong in hilarious fashion. So I think I just got to ride with Storm Surge again, because I think the team would riot if another one of, the casters decided to pick against them. So I'm gonna lock them in. I think they're gonna try and be aggressive once again. I think they're gonna come out swinging, and I think the momentum that they really gained from last week, I think is gonna carry over, and I think they're gonna take it.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you there, Evan. I definitely think they're going to continue on their winning streak. They don't want to let it go just yet. And I know they have it in them to beat Profeco. Well, they are a tough opponent. It'll be an amazing match to watch. I think I'll give it over to Storm Surge. But the scoreline, though, I think it's going to be a close game. This isn't going to be a blowout by any means from Storm Surge. It's going to be long. It's going to be hard. And I think they're going to have a little bit of a shaky start. I think they're going to have to try and learn how Profeco operates, especially on Dust 2. But I think they'll understand it, and they'll strike, and they'll win.
Well, there's going to be a lot of pressure. You think about the way that Dust 2 works and the important control points on that map, and it's really going to come down to how Desolation is going to be with the op in hands. Obviously, Dust 2, the big point, you talk about mid or A long, the opper is so important, especially on the CT side, and making sure those angles continue to be held in your control. So that puts a lot of pressure on Desolation, who we have seen has been very, very strong with the op in these last couple of games. So if he's able to tap into anything that we've seen these last couple games, we're going to be in for a treat tonight. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for everybody to connect in the server. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be Dust 2, and it's going to be a great one.
We are back, everybody. It's Profeco versus Storm Surge, both on a flawless streak. Who is going to win? That's the question on everyone's minds. We're going in to Dust 2, a classic, but also a classic, I gotta say, is Profeco's name. It's been around for quite a while. It's not just a name. It's not just something made up. I had to look this up, and it's actually the Office of the Federal Prosecutor for the Consumer in Mexico. So they are responsible for taking care and making sure all the products in Mexico are safe and people are buying stuff and having a good time. And I think that means, if I make the connection, Evan, they want to have a good economy. That's going to be their prio going into this game.
Well, I think it's nice that an official Mexican, government board has their official team playing in the ESEA main. I think that's very nice to see, that happen. But yeah, I definitely think that is going to be something they prioritize, and Storm Surge has to be ready for this. But you would assume that they've done the research leading up to this. Maybe they expected this sort of a pick to come through, and maybe Storm Surge has a plan for this. Obviously, they let this come through in bands, so they might have something up their sleeve tonight. I don't know if I would necessarily call this one a wash. I mean, I predicted Storm Surge to win. We said it was going to be close. I'm still going to hold it to that, but I think they're going to come out. You said it was going to be a slow start for Storm Surge. I'm going to say the opposite. I think they're going to come out swinging again, and I think Profeco is going to have to play catch up in this one. Like I said, it'll be close. I'm expecting some lead changes, but we're going to have to wait and see how it shakes out. We're just waiting for the last player to connect into the server, and then we're going to hop in as soon as we can. It's going to be another good one. I mean, we've had a lot of good ones, I think, on stream thus far. I don't think there have really been any boring games, you could say. Maybe last Thursday, just because it was so much of a blowout. That might not be counted as like an exciting game to watch, but I suppose, Storm Surge fans always enjoy seeing a nice beat down like that. But what we haven't seen, and maybe we could talk about if this is possible in Dust 2, we have yet to see overtime on stream. Will we get it tonight on Dust 2?
I mean, we very well could. I don't foresee it happening today. I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be that close. I think definitely once one of these teams, they're so momentum based that once one of these teams is closing out towards the end, they'll see it through. I think the scoreline's going to end up looking more like 13-8 rather than 13-10. It's I think there's still going to be a modest difference between them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that prediction as well. I don't think it's going to be a blow. But again, that's what I said last week, and then I was completely wrong. So what do we really know at the end of the day? We're just putting in our best educated guesses. I'm getting word that we're just on standby now, so any second we're going to be throwing it into Dust 2 as we get set for this next game. And Matthias, any final thoughts before we get in?
I'm just excited to see some good, clean CS. I'm excited to cast a map that's not Inferno. That's really my true feelings. But honestly, we've had so much predictions. We can guess. We can look into that crystal ball and guess all we want, but we won't know the truth until we get right into game.
It's very true, and I think we're getting word that it is indeed time to get into game. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's PROFECO, it's Storm Surge, it's Dust 2. And we have our knife fight, of course. Ritualistic knife fight. The only way to start a game of CS and Punisher. He is really trying to get out of here and try and isolate this duel with Nivek. Here we go. This is where we're going to start. Storm Surge going to be starting on the T side of Dust 2, so giving PROFECO a chance to really bolster their defense at the start. Or never mind, I should say we switch things up potentially. I don't know. The UI on the top says one thing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I shouldn't have said anything. Storm Surge going to be starting on the CT side, and right off the rip, potential tactical timeout. It looks like we have a disconnected PROFECO player.
It happens.
Hey, it does happen. We were having some issues last week as well. Sometimes, especially when you're playing games at a certain time, it might come into effect. So we will wait on standby until we can get Nivek back. But you know what? At least it happens now at the start of the game and not in a really important round, in a critical round. So I guess this isn't the worst thing in the world.
I mean, you can take a look at their knives now. We can do a little bit of a knife
skin check
contest. Yeah, a little bit of a drip check here. Let's take a look. I mean, that knife's pretty good on Ghana.
I think that's just the basic knife.
Bro,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's clean, bro.
I see you're a man who appreciates simplicity. You don't need anything fancy.
Hey.
Whoa. Oh, hey.
Speaking of fancy, got a fancy dance happening here.
You like that one better? Or no, you like the simple one better?
That one's pretty sick.
Yeah,
I feel like I don't like
if we
the
could
little
get
bottle
Prod to
cap
get
moving
an
around the
estimated
end.
value on that knife, I think that would be sick. But here we go. Molly out early. Going onto these doors near A long is Kanzi going to nestle himself right behind. He's waiting for these players to swing out, and so is Doyle. He does find one, but getting trade out immediately. Here comes the execute flash. Doesn't matter as Kanzi's going to find the head of 3 members of PROFECO. Desolation going to clean it up. Storm Surge, they come out hot like we predicted, and they take a dominating pistol round.
And that's what you want to see from Storm Surge. They play off momentum so well, so getting their foot in the door here will let them get so much value. I mean, let's get a repeat of this clean pistol round gameplay from Kanzi. I mean, look at that. And Desolation up there to be the guardian angel, keeping it clean. This is off to a fantastic start for Storm Surge.
Yeah, that's a classic hold for the CT side. So just perfectly executed by Storm Surge. There is, cubed. That frag not going where he wanted to, ricocheting off the wall, so no value coming out of that util from there. And actually, thank you, Prod, for double-checking that knife we saw, that red knife. $200 in value. So not as much as I thought, but still a nice, decent investment if you care about that sort of thing. And I think Desolation's going to care about trying to get this kill. He's going to use some util to smoke off Catwalk. PROFECO's going to have to retreat into the crosshairs of Punisher, who finds 2.
And Cubes finds 2 as well, a little down to 1. It's just going to be V1 all on his lonesome, trying to throw to Flash, get some salvation for himself, but it's going to be Doyle ending him rightly down in mid. And now 2-0, Storm Surge getting their foothold here, but finally PROFECO going to use that economic knowledge to finally buy some guns.
Yeah, I've really been impressed with the holds thus far for Storm Surge. I mean, just been clinical thus far, and you see Punisher getting involved, and Cubed also getting some work with the FAMAS. I mean, this is going to be a tough round here. I mean, you do have rifles online for PROFECO for the first time, so you can say the first real round, but I mean, for Storm Surge, looking really, really clean to start, and another good one is they find 2, but PROFECO answers with 2 of their own.
On their answer, but the quiz isn't over yet. It's 3v3. 6 players left on the board. Smoke goes out. Cubed holding it high up on A main there. A little bit of hesitancy coming out here in the middle, but no! Desolation finds a head, shoots it. Anthony gonna find one right back. It's Nivik here trying to play with the bomb. Doesn't want to give it just yet. Anthony, very, very low. Just 30 HP remaining to his name. They're going to go for a rotation over to B site, but he's going to be met by Cubed. Trying to play the defense. Throws the molly out. Gets flashed. Have to play the slow and steady, but no! TJC gets the headshot on Cubed, and just like that, they've turned it all around. Desolation now has to clutch.
That's just a great shot coming through from Anthony there. Not much that you can do if you're the side of Storm Surge, and he gets another one. He's good for 2 of those headshots. So PROFECO do find their first once they get a chance with rifles, but Storm Surge keeping it close regardless. And again, we see that early round aggression coming through from them. They are not afraid to get right up into those lanes the T's like to go through, just not able to get that one done because of a great clutch from Anthony.
I mean, absolutely amazing. That's what PROFECO needs to do to try and get themselves back in this thing. Now, they're in a tough spot. Storm Surge, they have the money, but if they lose this round, the whole game's going to be turned on its head. He goes out from Nivik, trying to make some space for his team. It looks like they're playing for some mid control here. See a few rotations come through. This door is going to be rife with utility.
Yeah, it's a critical smoke to get down on the mid doors. You just absolutely need that if you want to get anything set here on the T side. Playing it patient, it's PROFECO. They do lose 1 to start. That's another opening pick for Storm Surge, and Doyle trying to get fancy with the ricochet flash, but V1 is going to find his head, and PROFECO, once again, they answer right back after losing a member.
Now it's just a 4v4. Tensions are still very high. PROFECO needs to try and find some angle of attack. Time is running out. They have 1 minute, less than a minute left on the clock. As it looks like they're going to try and go for an A push. But Storm Surge knows they're on the defense. They can play the long game. They have to wait for them to approach. Looks like it's going to be this alleyway push. Desolation finds one on Nevik. And now 3v4. It's looking very dire for PROFECO. They might just save their guns at this point.
I don't know if I see a save yet. It depends on if Storm Surge can find at least another one. Execute gonna come through via catwalk. Kanzi good for one, but can't find the other attacker. So V1 gonna get the bomb down onto A. Anthony good for another one as well, but a jump shot from Cubed. Going to keep it interesting. Anthony, he was good in the clutch last time. Get him for a second one. And a second round for PROFECO.
Anthony, the surprise MVP so far for PROFECO, clutching 2 rounds in a row. I mean, look at him up there, 6 kills all to himself. No one even close on the rest of his team. He's eating them all up for himself. This is looking a little bit dire for Storm Surge. They're going to have to play a little bit smarter, a little bit slower going forward to try and crawl themselves back from this deficit.
Yeah, Anthony's had a really solid game. He's going to upgrade to an M4 as well, so PROFECO now able to save a little bit going into this round, and some early aggression onto Catwalk. PROFECO going to find themselves with the man advantage. They're trying to swing on a Punisher here. They know he just has a pistol, and they're going to make him pay for it as Anthony continues to go on a rampage for PROFECO. Cubed and Doyle now in a really tough spot to save this round. 4 members left. I mean, sure, Anthony's only on 3 HP, but it doesn't matter when it's a one-shot headshot. And I think Storm Surge know this is a pretty tough one to try and win, and I think rightly so. They're just going to try and potentially save this round here. Look for some exits.
I think that's the plan. I agree with you, Evan. They're not in the position to do something overzealous, but it looks like Doyle, or Cubed rather, might be the one to do it. He's going to try and meet them head on. Big flank coming from Doyle. Playing for those exits. But I think PROFECO, it's not going to happen. They're not going to fall for it.
I think, actually, Doyle, he might be in a perfect spot. They don't clear him, but just not able to finish the kill. That was a prime opportunity to maybe find one. Anthony does fall to the bomb. It's not going to do much for Storm Surge there, and they're going to take their first time out early. I don't hate this call. They had a really good start, but you've given up 3 in a row to PROFECO, and they've been looking fairly strong. This is a tough call. I mean, you're forced to buy into this round, but if you lose this one here, your econ is broken. You're probably going to let PROFECO take at least another 2 if that happens, so you're already going to be in a deficit. So good time to take a timeout, think things over. The most important round we've seen thus far. If Storm Surge can find a way to win this one, definitely going to be a big swing of momentum back into their favor.
That's what they need. Try and bring this thing back. I mean, this is the moment. They have the formula. I know they have the solution in their heads. It's just about applying it in the right way. I think they got a little bit overzealous after their lead. They wanted to experiment, try a few things out on Dust 2, but they just got to play it simple, stick to the plan. Stay static. You're on defense. You don't have to get too fancy.
Well, remember, this is a map that PROFECO favors a lot, so any strategy you might try and throw at them, you know that they're going to have an answer. This catwalk defense can be very, very critical for Storm Surge coming up into this round. Desolation and Kanzi going to be your first men on site to control this critical path. B1 down through the tunnel side connector, going to throw a molly there to try and back off the defenders. Maybe try and set up an execute here. He's going to hop up onto the box. The rest of the team going to slowly make their way over. But again, both teams really taking their time. We're not seeing the early aggression like we saw earlier. That big flash going to come out. Desolation not going to be able to find anything, though. PROFECO strike first.
The first strike once again. Punisher going to try and get one back, and Nivik finds Kanzi on an off angle, and now it's going to be up to Doyle, the last standing soldier, to try and carry this one through, but he doesn't check. There's 3 there. Anthony blowing up the whole game for Storm Surge, clearing out A site, but he gets taken out from behind by Punisher on the flank, and Storm Surge gets a much needed win.
That is such a great round to come through from Storm Surge. I was a little worried there, but some of those early picks didn't go their way, but Doyle making a big stand once again, that double being the difference maker for Storm Surge, and now we find ourselves tied. The econ is still looking a little low for Storm Surge, so you're definitely not out of the woods yet, but definitely looking a little better. Look at Desolation taking a shotgun this time. This could be potentially devastating, depending on where he's going to set himself up, and he's just going to nestle himself right near the B doors, potentially. Yes, that is where he's going to go. So if Storm Surge can force a rotate over to B, that's going to be a very deadly surprise waiting for them.
But I think they're ready to open it up. It looks like they're going to push in through this midport, and they're taking it slow and steady. Anthony, I know, and I see a Deagle Demon when I see one. He's going to do some dirty things with that thing. Trying to push on through this mid site. They're apprehensive, and I think Storm Surge is waking up to this plan. They're going to peek, get a few trades up there in mid. Kanzi getting taken out, finding one through all the chaos. Just blind firing through that smoke, trying to make something happen. But now a 2v4. It's looking very dark for Storm Surge.
Yeah, that double might be enough to secure PROFECO the win there. I mean, this is going to be a very, very tough retake for Storm Surge, and your econ already on the verge of being broken, so nobody going to be budging for Storm Surge this time. This one going to be going to PROFECO, but it just goes to show you how a team that plays the map very confidently can start to run things even when the going gets tough, and that's what we're seeing out of PROFECO here. Despite the adversity, they're not afraid to find an answer, and you look to guys like Anthony who have sort of been the leaders for the team thus far and trying to carry them out of the pit. Storm Surge, it's been good so far, but you just need a little bit more to try and get yourself over the edge.
I think this is where PROFECO's extra experience on Dust 2 is starting to show. I mean, the way they approach these attacks are just absolutely are ingenious, honestly. There's a lot of bait. They know the psychology of how the players on defense operate, and they're exploiting it to their advantage. They're taking it slow. They're taking it steady. They're very methodical on these attacks. And we see the tactical timeout come through on the side of Storm Surge. And I think that's a good call, especially after PROFECO has done so many crazy things. You want to take a step back, relax, and try and think of a game plan of your own to keep them on their toes.
Not a bad call, but that is the last timeout of this half for Storm Surge. So heavy investment into these early rounds, but I agree with you. I don't think it's a bad call. It's a tight game. You feel like some of these rounds could definitely have gone your way if you win a gunfight or two. So Storm Surge, I think, just need to try and figure out this plan. And going back to this hold where Kanzi set up on the A doors here, I think this is a good play. It led to success earlier, but does PROFECO bite through the smoke? I don't know if you can get them twice with this. They can go through, try and clear the smoke a little bit. Doyle just going to get a little bit of a peek of Gonak, but not going to be able to finish the kill, and Kanzi going to fall as well, despite getting revenge for his fallen teammate. So another hole in the defense being exploited by PROFECO, and they're on the move once again with the man advantage and the site open.
It's open. They're going to swing on through loud and proud. Punisher taking it slow and steady, aiming that shot. The trigger discipline on display. It's a nice upgrade. Wants to try and get some value here. They don't want to be 2 rounds down. V1 getting the bomb down. Time is ticking for Storm Surge.
Punisher going to be leading the charge via catwalk here. It's going to be a very tough clear, but I mean, it's only going to be V1 on site. Nivik playing very, very far back. So depending on how this smoke goes, you might be able to try for a ninja here, and that's what Punisher's going to try and do, but he can't find the bomb. They do find the kill, so time is ticking away. Cube doesn't have a kit, so this has to be picture perfect. Oh, it's going to be so close. I think he's got it, though. It's going to be very, very close. He does get it.
Oh my God.
They fall, but does not matter. You still win the round. Storm Surge coming out of timeout with a round win once again. We find ourselves tied at 4 as we head into round number 9.
I mean, that was a picture-perfect finish if I've ever seen one. Just barely missing the shots by Nivik there on the lineup. He found 2 exactly at the end. I mean, what a round. The push and pull between the teams was absolutely sublime. 4-4 already. We're already in a good match. I think more is just on its way.
I agree, and watching that back, I don't know how Nivik saw that second player. I mean, that might have just been like a Hail Mary shot. Not sure if that was planned out. Nivik's going to have to be good for another one here. Kanzi going to be nestling himself down ramp. Still out of the way of that molly, so they might not fully be able to clear this. Doyle here as well. He's going to find one, but PROFECO has been so good at finding these refrags, and how good has Kanzi been? He is going to fall, but makes PROFECO pay once again. Nivik, the last man standing on A long, does manage to get the bomb back. His way up long is good for Cube. Punisher. Oh my goodness, Nivik tip-tapping away. Finding the head of Punisher. We've seen the talent. We told you, top 1,000 player in NA, and we're seeing that talent on display single-handedly, bringing PROFECO back to the brink.
I mean, it's just him and Anthony there. I know the rest of the team's playing well, they're playing their roles, but between Anthony and Nivik, they're just clutching up stuff they shouldn't be. They're making the impossible possible. They're winning those rounds when it counts, and that's what's putting them ahead. I mean, we're seeing a lot of consistency from Storm Surge. I mean, Pistol, maybe not so much. It's going to be Cube and Punisher holding this corner, and they barely do it. I mean, it's an absolute massacre on that B push. V1 now on his lonesome. In a corner, fighting his last stand, and he might be able to do it. Just as I say, there's only 2 clutchers on a team. A third appears. V1 making it a 1v1, getting some upgrades. This is absolutely ridiculous, Evan.
I know if you're on the side of Storm Surge, that has to be frustrating there. You think you have the guy in tunnels dead to rights, but just not meant to be. And now PROFECO gets this plant off for free. And I mean, this is gonna be a fairly telegraphed push. Q does get some shots off. He's going to have to move quickly, making a lot of noise. So this is going to be very, very hard. Potentially swing back on Cube, continuing to dance with V1. 29 HP, burning himself a little bit with the molly. I don't know if he has enough time to defuse. Doesn't matter, though, as V1 just a massacre with the MP7. PROFECO find their biggest lead of the game.
Absolute big lead, but there's only 2 more rounds in the half. If Storm Surge clutches it up here, wins 2 more, it's 6-6. It's not feeling too bad. Even at this point, an 8-4 half, it's not too bad as long as their attack is strong. It's an okay half. We're on some copium here, but you got to try and stay strong. It's all about the mental.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Prod, can we get a replay on that again? Watch this sequence in tunnels. Prod, if we have time, they're in a timeout. Maybe we won't get to, but my God, did we see the flick that that V1 had? I mean, I know I'm not crazy. Watch this. Okay, all right. We're just showing the replay.
That was crazy, man.
That was crazy replay. I swear to God. There was an absolute just insane click onto the head. I don't even know how that happens. But if we can get a replay of that at some point, I think that'd be really cool to see. If not, it's fine. But it just, because I was thinking about it, it's like, Storm Surge had such an advantage. Like, how did they lose 3 in that engagement? That just blows my mind. And Nivik
I
continuing
think it
to
was
blow us away as he finds another one. Ichigo, haven't been calling his name a lot. He's good for one here, and second one as well, proving he is not the worst of the big three. Kanzi, the only
Kanzi
man left standing in tunnels.
You just got to make it expensive at this point. Try and make it worth your while. But no, it's going to be Gonak finding one as well. And everyone on the side of PROFECO is playing Perfecto. They are just absolutely popping off.
Okay, I'm told we have the replay of the previous round, so let's run this back. Okay, Matthias, watch this. Not here. Okay, so big swing for watch this.
Yeah.
What V1 does right here.
One.
So he finds one. This is the one.
Two.
Are you kidding me? Like, how does he do that? One bullet. Like, that's. I'm sorry. That was
again. This room is just blessed, consecrated by Profeco. That's their main head office, and they're operating, dealing business, and their business is death. Dealing it out swiftly and efficiently. I mean, what can Storm Surge do to try and break him out of there?
It's going to be tough. I mean, this is starting to slip away from Storm Surge now. I mean, it had such a dominating start, and Profeco's been playing the long game here. It's taken a while for their star riflers to really get online, but now that they're here and fully active, we are seeing the difference in real time. Storm Surge just need to find a way to get a fifth one here. I think that's your clearest way for finding a way to get back in this one, because of the way that Profeco's been playing on this attack side. You know this defense is going to be fairly lock solid. Punisher in a really good spot for a couple kills right here, depending on the timing. Smoke to delay that push. Is Profeco going to rethink things a little bit? Meanwhile, Ichigo going to find Doyle to give themselves some more space. So this execute going to have to come quick. 30 seconds left to go as Punisher repositions. Just barely missing these shots. It's good to find Nivik, but getting traded out. And sight going to be open now for Profeco.
It's a tough situation to be in here if you're Storm Surge. They have this B point locked down. Plant coming through. You want to try and get one last win in here. Try and carry out the momentum. But no, you line up perfectly for V1 to get a D1 ending to the half. 8-4. Profeco showcasing their strength on Dust 2. It's a masterclass. They're teaching us how to play the game at this point.
And this is why I said in the pre-show, you don't want these guys to go to Dust 2, and we're seeing it now. I mean, Storm Surge is doing everything right. They're putting themselves in a good position. They're just getting outgunned. Simply, I think that's really what it's been coming down to. We're seeing the skill from Profeco on full display here. And what looked like a fairly close first half is starting to slip away from Storm Surge. The pressure has never been higher. If you don't find Pistol, it's going to be really hard to find a foothold for the rest of this game.
Yeah, it's just going to be very difficult. You definitely need to win this pistol, but what do? You need to have an all-out offense, and that's what they're seeing. They're going to go for a bum rush. They can't take us all as they go through. They clear the B site, and they get the plant. Looks like they're going to opt to play the post-plant split on the side of Profeco. They take out the first defensive player there. Nivek charging in on through. They need to land some of these shots, but it's not landing. Cubed finds one, but that's not going to be enough. It's down to a 1v3 situation. One bullet to the head is going to end Cubed. And once again, the gap between these teams begins to widen as Profeco gets eerily close to that victory.
Still some work to do. Definitely not over yet, but not looking good now as Storm Surge just, like we said, they're doing everything right. They just can't match the skill of these Profeco riflers. And that's really all you really need to do if you're Profeco. You just need to win the gunfights, and it's the best way to win the game. And we're going to get a A rush down A long here. Keep thinking about going down suicide, but gonna rethink that. But PROFECO is waiting for them. Punisher is gonna be good for one. Doyle another, but the carnage continuing. Only 2 members left standing for either side. Storm Surge still somehow coming out on the other side of A long, but with V1 and Nivik waiting, the 2-star riflers for PROFECO. You're gonna have to get this done now and make sure everyone is covering, and they are getting over there very, very quickly.
They are. It's a 2v2 situation. Doyle, being Frodo, bearing that ring, needs to take it to the mountains of Mordor, that being the A site. Can they do it? The dynamic duo. They've gotten through tougher things together, but can they conquer this round? This is the turning point for the game. 10-4. It's not looking good. 5-9. That is where you can turn it around, and that's what Storm Surge is playing for. Nivek and V1 focusing on that midpoint. A little bit of a cross section. I think we're going to see a little bit of an espionage action as they soldier on for a rotation.
Yeah, this is a good play coming through from Storm Surge. I think A was such a telegraph pick, so being able to slip through the defense is probably going to get this plant off for free. So at the very least, that's a little bit more econ if you can't win this round. But with the way that PROFECO is set up, you're going to have a decent bit of time to set up for this post plant. So I don't hate Storm Surge's chances here. You just have to make sure you can hit your shots. And this is going to be the biggest shot of the night for Desolation, who's been quiet thus far. Only 4 picks. Can he make one that matters here? Great flash coming through, and a molly destroying Doyle. Desolation finds one. Not good for the second one. Does he waste enough time? I think he does. Not enough as Nivik coming through with the kit. Close once again, but Desolation and Doyle doing everything they can. Did everything right, but just not able to get it done. Anthony, once again, with the clutch.
I mean, I think going in, none of us expected Anthony to be such a force to be reckoned with, but throughout this entire match, he's just been absolutely brutal coming through. Just when you least expect it, you think, okay, we got the round, everything's going good. And then Anthony comes from the shadows and shakes up the entire game, turns it on its head, and clutches it up for the team. Now we're getting into the twilight rounds, potentially for Storm Surge. They need to try and clutch this one up, if not even for the win, but just for the experience to know that we can fight on Dust 2 when it inevitably will happen again.
Good start for Storm Surge. They find their first pick, get the bomb down, but another swift response that gets traded out immediately. But PROFECO is not done there. Ichigo going on a bit of a streak before getting taken out by Punisher. Back to a 2v2 situation now. Feels like we have seen a lot of these thus far. Nivik in a duel with Kanzi, and he is going to win. The last man left standing, going to fall for Storm Surge. The twilight growing darker by the second. PROFECO continuing their dominance. Storm Surge has yet to win a round, by the way, since the first half. This has been a streak of rounds that has yet to be broken by PROFECO. You said it, I think, the best, Matthias. Just playing perfectly and just nothing you could do to stop them right now.
There's honestly nothing. This is the momentum has started. Both of these teams, I had a feeling, were momentum based. Storm Surge had that momentum in the beginning, but PROFECO quickly and thwarted every single chance of coming back with insane clutches time after time after time. And it's looking very, very dire for Storm Surge. I mean, honestly, if you're the team, to preserve your mental, it sucks. This is rough. This is not going good. You just want to try and learn. You want to try and make the most out of this experience, because PROFECO is definitely a force to be reckoned with. They're a good team. They're a team you can play against. You can really learn something from this match. And hopefully you can take this match and use the experience to get a win in the future.
Yeah, and that's something we had talked about. You know, we had said that Dust 2 is not a map that Storm Surge is, very good on, you could say, or they don't, they don't pick it as much as other maps. Definitely one of the weaker ones in their pool. So we had said that maybe, this is a little bit eye-opening to see that there is a lot of work still to be done on Dust 2. I mean, I think there have been positives, but man, this PROFECO team is just so clinical on Dust 2. We're seeing what can happen, the potential of a decent Dust 2, and clearly Storm Surge still need time in the oven to experiment with this map. Although I will say there were flashes. I think the beginning there definitely were moments that could have gone their way, but just simply being out-dueled by these riflers from PROFECO and Nivik. Gonna whiff with the mag, whiff with the... whiff with the Bretas, excuse me. Just spraying and praying. And it was answered. PROFECO find themselves at match point in what has been... It was a slow game to start, but we have just absolutely barreled to the finish.
Yeah, this is a very competitive start, but PROFECO, they found the recipe for Storm Surge's undoing. They rotated counterclockwise to undo their vortex there. It's not looking good, but you just gotta appreciate the craftsmanship and the skill coming through on the side of PROFECO.
Yeah, they just have been the better team thus far, and Storm Surge just haven't been able to match that aggression. Are able to find a couple kills to start, so this one definitely not over yet. They try and rush through to this B side. Doyle gonna get absolutely demolished by Ichigo, who finds a second one for his troubles. All gonna be up to Punisher now. 21 HP and a dream. Anthony and V1 trying to crash their way through. Punisher, he's just gonna try and fight this head on, I think, if he can. Flash comes through. Good to find Anthony for the 1v1. Not able to get the bomb down as well. Caught switching to his weapon. Storm Surge getting washed away after what looked like a very dominating start, but once PROFECO locked in, they just stayed locked the entire time.
They did, man. That was a match to watch. That was a very good match to watch. It was very fun, back and forth. But PROFECO, they just had the perfect recipe there on Dust 2. You can definitely tell that that's their favorite map. I mean, I don't know how it ended up on Dust 2. I think that they wanted to try it out. They knew, Storm Surge knew that they had to try and start to learn on this map, and this was a good time to do it. And it was a good start, but I think they just didn't have enough tricks in the bag to keep PROFECO surprised. They've seen so many tricks. I mean, let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of PROFECO highlights. I can tell you that right now. But again, like, there were moments. I mean, Kanzi right off the rip finding a big triple in the first pistol. Like, you can see, like, from his cam, like, vibes were high. Like, this was very competitive to start, and having to use some timeouts early to find value immediately afterwards, this definitely looked like Storm Surge might be able to find something. It was just, once we hit round number 9, tied at 4-4, that's just when the wheels fell off the bus, and PROFECO just found that second gear, and were just unable to stop once they got through. And you can see, like, Storm Surge just not able to match the aggression here, despite the fact that some of these rounds, they were able to get something going. But this is really where things started to fall apart.
I mean, you gotta admit, at some point, you can't even expect something like this. I mean, look at this. Like, you're gonna be thinking about this for every round after that. That's just psychic damage and again, as well.
What do you even do against that? Like, that's what I... Infuriating. I think psychic damage, I think, is a good way to say it.
Yeah, it's a mental scar that you just have to try and play around the rest of the match. Like, stuff, just Looney Tune stuff kept happening to them. They were doing everything right, but no, PROFECO was finding the 1 in a million angle, and they had the discipline to make good on it.
Yeah, and I think you had mentioned momentum. You had mentioned momentum as well as something that is very much a thing in matches like these, and you could just see, because we had mentioned it, once they get round 9, Storm Surge doesn't win another round the entire rest of the game. Like, they were absolutely locked out after that. So momentum definitely a big factor in that, and like you said, when you got Looney Tunes goofy stuff happening like that, it's just like what do you even do? I think it's just a GG go next situation, but we didn't mention this in the pre-show. This is a tough week for Storm Surge because coming up on Thursday, this is another really tough ESEA main team, the Ritz Enjoyers. I actually have cast this team before a couple weeks ago for Next Gen Cup for Crossfire GG. They were one of the teams that were in the playoffs. I want to say they were either in the semis or the finals of the Next Gen Cup, and I got to watch a lot of gameplay from this team, and I can speak from experience that they absolutely are not a team that you want to trifle with. They are very, very strong, a well-rounded team. So another challenge coming up later in the week for Storm Surge. So I think this is probably good to happen now, because now you have 2 days to prepare for your next game against a tough team. You know that this game wasn't good. Let's take the steps to fix it, get back to basics, and just be ready for another tough one on Thursday.
Exactly, I agree with you, Evan. It's always a learning experience. You now know we're not going Dust 2 anytime soon. We're gonna lab that out a little bit more, try and bring a few more strats to the party. Maybe watch this VOD back and see what it was like from the attacking side for PROFECO, because they brought some heat in that match.
Hey, it was the pretty spicy heat, I would say, more than just regular heat. But unfortunately, that is going to do it for us. Not going the way of Storm Surge, but that's okay, because we still had a fun time on the desk, and we're going to give a shout out to you, Matthias, first thing, for joining me on the desk, getting some more CS under your belt, and give some shout outs to Prod. Again, I was sort of putting them on, I sort of made them dance a little bit, trying to get that replay twice with the slow-mo as well. That was very much noticed and appreciated. So we got, shout out Wyatt Swag Studios on the replay tonight. We got Carl Varsiel Godin, our producer tonight. Adrian getting some free cam observing in. I think Hayes, the other observer tonight, I believe. Correct? I'm trying to think of who else I might be missing. I mean, Hayden's just around. Phaser is just always around, always doing everything for the team. I'm actually cheating. I'm going back into the schedule message to see if I got everybody, and I did get everybody. Thank goodness. Besides sponsors, obviously, we want to thank Storm Surge for giving us a chance to partner with them for the season, and thank you to Counterstrat as well for being our main sponsor, who have been with us since the beginning. So thank you very much for joining us on this journey, and thank you, dear viewer, for joining us tonight. We will be back on Thursday, like we said, for Storm Surge versus the Ritz Enjoyers. We hope to see you then, but for now, we'll leave you with this. Have a good night. Doyle, he does find one, but getting traded out immediately. Here comes the execute flash. Doesn't matter, as Konzi's going to find the head of 3 members of PROFECO. Use some util to smoke off Catwalk. PROFECO's going to have Storm Surge can find at least another one. Execute going to come cube. Going to keep it interesting. Anthony, he was good in the clutch last to save a little bit. The peak of Godak, not going to be able to finish the teammate, so another hole that he has being exploited. I think he's got it, though. It's going to be very, very close. He does get it. Might not fully be able to be so good at finding Storm Surge.
Maybe not so much. It's going to be cute. They punish him for holding this crush. V1 now on his lonesome. In a corner, fighting his last stand.
The Storm Surge had such advantage. Like, how did they lose 3 in that engagement? Just calling his name alive. He's good. Just barely missing one. Thus far, Nivik still to be done on Dust 2. I mean, I think they're just simply being out-dueled by these riflers from PROFECO and Nivik. And a whip with the mag, whip with the Punisher. He's just going to try and
Living on a fault line. You'd think that I'd get used to the shaking. I wake up in the dark, imagining everything I am breaking as I lose my grip. I've been dreaming in color. I wake up wishing harder for you. Fault lines breaking under my feet. Oh, alright, I'll get used to this eventually. Don't hold your breath for me. Fault lines breaking under my feet. Oh, alright, I'll get used to this eventually. Someday you'll see. Fault lines, 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 breaking under my feet. Oh, it gets quiet in the dark. I get closer to an answer, then everything blurs over, and I forget again. I want to land on solid ground, feel the earth underneath me. I fell for you harder. You will always remember, won't you? You made these fault lines break under my feet. Oh, alright, I'll get used to this eventually. Don't hold your breath for me. Fault lines breaking under my feet. Oh, alright, I'll get used to this eventually.